Why do men love sports? Why do they love war? And why do they love making all the time? If you are a man watching this, you already have your answers ready. Because I love my club, because I love my country, and because the other country is pure evil, and simply because I love women. Reasonable, obvious, and almost entirely beside the point. There is only one answer for all three, and it is not what you think. But before we get there, first let us look at what is actually happening beneath the surface. Let's start with competition. Sports, war, and sex all operate as arenas of male status. For most of human evolutionary history, a man's standing in his group determined his access to resources, to mates, to survival itself. The nervous system did not forget this just because we invented mortgages and desk jobs. It still keeps a score. Our societies have transcended into the space age, but that meat bodysuit you wear, that is still Stone Age. Sports simulates the competition in a rule-bound, relatively safe arena. Every sport is just a zero-sum drama of who rises and who falls, who wins, who doesn't. War takes the same dynamic and removes every safety net. The prize is survival. The cost of losing is final. And sex is, in the bluntest evolutionary terms, the biological endpoint of the whole competition. Everything in the world is about sex, except sex. Sex is about power, is widely, though likely inaccurately, attributed to Oscar Wilde. What sports, sex, and war offer you is clarity. Ordinary life is almost insultingly vague. You rarely know how you are doing, whether your efforts mean anything or where you actually stand. There is no scoreboard. Sports gives you a scoreboard. War gives you the starkest possible version of consequence. It's either us or them, no day-to-day grind. Sex gives you the clearest form of acceptance or rejection the social world can produce. You are either boinking her for life or you're never going to see her for life. These things offer you a clarity that is seldom offered from anywhere else. Oh, and then there is camaraderie, brotherhood, the locker room, the pub, the platoon. This is where men bond the most. Just going out for one drink with the guys, and the next thing you know, you've risked the marriage to vacation with the boys at some beachside destination. Men bond most deeply through shared challenge and shared risk. The particular closeness between men who have been through something together that neither of them can quite explain afterwards. Sport and war manufacture this. We were there at the victory parade. We were there when the party led the riots. We both point the same girl in college. There is less expression and more of a shared experience for men to bond rather than an emotional conversation, which is usually required for a female friendship to blossom. So far, so explainable. Evolution, status, bonding, clarity. Neat. Now, ask any boy what he wanted to be growing up, and the answer always collapses into two things: either a sports person or a soldier. Not an accountant, not a project manager, a footballer, a cricketer, a soldier, an Air Force pilot. Two roles that promise status, brotherhood, clarity, and the complete absence of ambiguity about whether you matter. The fact that most of them ended up as neither is beside the point. The longing tells you everything. But this only tells us what these things do for men. It does not tell us why the pull feels so much desperate, why men will dedicate years of their lives to a sport they will never play professionally, why ordinary men with ordinary lives have walked into extraordinary violence throughout history, not just because they were forced to, but because some part of them wanted to. For that, we need to go somewhere else entirely. At its core, what is a sport? Sports is to war as pornography is to sex. That is Jonathan Haidt, the social psychologist, and he means it as more than a clever line. Sport is war with death removed. It keeps the hierarchy, the tribe, the conflict, the glory, and replaces the body count with a trophy. This is not a criticism of sport, be it the Roman arena or the Alliance arena. It is the same feeling which grips men so completely. And if you need further proof, consider a street fight or a bar brawl. If you haven't been part of one, congratulations, you are the few wise men that remain. As for the rest of the male species, they'll risk everything against men they might never meet again and have nothing material to gain, and will still square up in a car parking lot at 1 a.m. on a weekend. All that for a bruised ego. There they are, completely alive for reasons neither of them could fully articulate the next morning with an ice pack on their face. If sport is a simulation of war, and war is the ultimate crucible of male identity throughout history, then what men are really chasing in the stadium through the scarves and the chants and the collective agony is not entertainment. It is something that feels like the real thing, like what they were built for. Thousands of veterans with obvious guilt have reported that war was the most alive they have ever felt. You strip away the moral implications of the statement, and there is a neurological reason. Something was happening in combat that everyday life does not provide. Something that the stadium tries to approximate. Something that it turns out sex also provides. What is it? It's sitting quietly and doing nothing. The answer is meditation. What has meditation got to do with sex, war, and sports? It's the most dead thing, and you see it is the reason for the things that make you feel the most alive? Yeah, but not the version where you sit in a lotus position and count your breaths. I mean the real thing. Master practitioners can meditate in the middle of a packed train, while buying groceries, while washing dishes. It doesn't matter how or where, one can meditate anywhere, everywhere. Strip away every technique, the breathing methods, the visualizations, the 4-3-2-1 grounding where you notice 4 sounds, 3 sensations, 2 smells, 1 taste. Strip all of it, and the instruction underneath every single method is the same one sentence. Be here, now, fully. That is it. The entire multi-billion-dollar wellness industry, the ancient monasteries, the 10,000-hour meditation masters, all of them are pointing at the one same sentence. Be present in the present, and yet the near universal human failure to actually live in it. That is exactly what sports, war, and sex do. They anchor you in the present moment. They are meditations. There's nothing else in the world you'd think of at that moment. Now go back to a footballer bearing down on goal. There is no mortgage in that moment, no argument from last Tuesday, no vague dread about whether his life is going the right direction. There is only the keeper, the angle, and the next half a second. His entire nervous system collapses into a single point in time. The soldier in combat, even more extreme. Every cell screaming the same message. Here, now, survive. The past does not exist. The future does not exist. There is only the immediate geometry of staying alive. And sex, well, the body has its own agenda there, and it is remarkably uninterested in your quarterly review. Unless you're doing it for just that. Lucky boy, keep it up. While sitting in a lotus position and focusing on breaths is dull for most of the men, these 3 acts serve as a more passionate alternative to meditation. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi spent his career studying this state. He called it flow, that condition where self-consciousness dissolves, time distorts, and the gap between you and what you're doing closes completely. He framed flow as peak human experience. He found it in athletes, surgeons, chess players, musicians. Hell, it can even be found in a clerk so absorbed in his work that time itself collapses. Flow is something the Stoics, the Taoists, and even the Bhagavad Gita all prescribe as the state to be it the pitch, the battlefield, or the bed. All these venues are the closest many men experience genuine here and now, and what many monks chase in monasteries, except the former 3 usually involve some alcohol and are way louder. A medieval peasant did not suffer the particular hell of the modern distracted mind. The present moment was simply where he lived because he had no alternative. We have built an entire civilization of alternatives. Feeds, notifications, endless content. The past repackages nostalgia and the future soulless anxiety. The average person spends the majority of their waking life in mental time that does not exist. The past and the future. We hardly live in the moment, which exists continuously. Living in a pit full of past regrets and future anxieties is nothing short of hell. The only heaven is the present, and thus sports, war, and sex are nothing but an escape to the present, a short lived paradise for men before returning to the lives they don't really want to live. And this is why the meditating monk doesn't need sports, war, and sex, because he is living exactly like he wants to live, unlike us who are chasing some form of relief. The monk is not just present, he is present without needing the chaos to get there, without needing a stadium or a war. That is the harder practice, the less entertaining one, but possibly the only one that actually solves the problem rather than temporarily suspending it. Whether men ever make that trade is a different question entirely. If this video resonated, I wrote a book you might want to pick up. An away game. Stories from the stands. Three men chase the dream of attending a FIFA World Cup final. It has football, banter, a short summer romance that might remind you of the White Knights, and the genuinely interesting question of whether your personality chooses your club or your club chooses your personality. It also has plenty of jokes that did not quite make it. The book took more out of me than I expected, not just writing it, but the quieter, lonelier work of putting it into the world afterward. Enough that I have not written another one since. So if you buy it, you're not just getting a book, you might actually be buying the next one into existence. Link is below. Time to check if my supreme leader took another L.